linear operator. What is a linear operator? Its inverse. In this section, we will see what about bounded linear operator and what is a continuous linear operator, right? So what is an operator? Operator is a mapping. Linear mapping means it defines linearity on normed spaces, right? So the first thing is, let X and Y be normed spaces and T is from domain to Y be a linear operator. When domain is contained in X, right? X in a norm space, then the operator T is said to be bounded if there is a real number C such that norm of Tx is less than equals to C times norm of Fx, norm of X, where the C is a real number, right? You have to note this. This is an important part, that this C is a real number, right? So norm of Tx is less than equals to C norm of X, where this X belongs to domain. So this norm will be the over the space X, right? And Tx belongs to range. So this will be over space Y, right? We do not write Y and X in the subscript generally, but this is to show you that the norms hold over for Tx over Y and for X over X, right? So a bounded linear operator is an operator if there is a real is bounded if there is a real number C such that this condition holds for all X, right? Now, to note is that bounded linear operators map bounded set onto bounded sets in Y, right? This will be proved in TUT, that bounded linear operators map bounded sets in DT onto bounded sets in Y. Now, for example, how to see if a linear operator is bounded or not, right? So for that, we have examples. First example is obviously the identity operator. Identity operator is Ix is equals to X for all X. This is linear, we have already proved, and it is bounded since norm of Ix is nothing but norm of X. So we can take C is equals to 1 and then the definition holds. In the definition, it was less than equal to. So if we prove equal to only, then also we are done, right? So identity operator is linear and bounded. Second is zero operator. Now norm of 0x is norm of 0, and this condition holds for all x, property of norm, right? Norm of x is greater than equals to 0 for all x. This is the property of norm. So zero operator is also bounded. Okay? Next is differentiation operator. Differentiation operator is P from P01, that is polynomials in 01 with norm infinity to P01 with norm infinity by T of xt is equals to x dash t, right? Then we have, I gave you an assignment to prove that T is linear. Now, we will prove that T is not bounded, right? So for that, what we take is, we take a sequence x and t which is equals to t to the power n, where t belongs to 0, 1 and n is a natural number, right? Then norm of xn with infinity. Infinity norm hai, right? So norm of xn over infinity is nothing but, this is equal sign. Supremum of x and t from t 0, 1, right? And supremum of x and t would be equals to, when t is from 0 to 1, the supremum would be nothing but t to the power n, right? Because x and t is t to the power n. So this supremum would be nothing but t to the power n ka supremum from t is equals to 0 to 1. Right? So when t is from 0 to 1 and n is a natural number, so then supremum is obviously 1. Right? For t is equals to 1, we can attain the supremum. Otherwise, this will tend to 0, right? R to the power n tends to 0 and n tends to infinity. Right? So supremum is, for t is equals to 1 and the supremum is 1. So norm of xn is equals to 1 for all n. Clear till now? Is it clear? Okay. Now, to show that t was bounded or not bounded, what we had to do was we had to see norm of tx and norm of x, right? How are they related? Norm of tx and norm of x. We have computed norm of xn for this case. Now what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to find what is norm of txn, right? So supremum of t from 0 to 1 and t of x and t. T of x and t क्या होगा? X and t is t to the power n and t of xn is x dash, right? T of x is equals to x dash and x is equals to t raised to power n. So x dash is nothing but n t raised to the power n minus 1, right? So we put this value in tx and t. So we get this is supremum of t01 n raised to power n into t raised to power n minus 1. Now here n is arbitrary and t is from 0 to 1. So again supremum would be n. For t is equals to 1 supremum मिलेगा हमें, right? So the supremum would be n, right? n को क्या लिख सकते हैं? n into 1 and 1 was norm of x and infinity, right? We obtain norm of x and infinity is 1. So what we obtain is norm of tx and infinity is equals to n times norm of x and infinity, right? For all n. And when we will take n tending to infinity, this norm will tend to infinity, which implies there does not exist any real number c such that this condition holds, right? There does not exist any c such that norm of txn is less than equals to norm of xn. Therefore, t is not bounded, right? So we have seen two examples where the operator was bounded, identity operator and zero operator, and differentiation operator is not bounded. Next is what about integral operator? So integral operator, we define t from c01 to c01 by txt is equals to this kernel integration, right? We had defined this integral operator where k is the kernel of t and is continuous on 01 to 01. Then t is linear and bounded. Why? We have assumed that t is linear. We haven't proved this, but we have stated that this is linear. We'll prove that this is bounded. To prove this bounded, what we do is we see what is this kernel. Now, kernel is a function of t and tau, right? And these are real variables, or we can say the continuous on 01 to 01, continuous on a closed domain, right? So kernel is continuous in closed domain. That means it is a bounded function. We are talking about real line R2, right? It is continuous on a closed domain and hence it is bounded function. And what it means a bounded function? That means there exists a real number k naught such that modulus of kt tau is less than equals to k naught for all t, right? This is written for all t comma tau belonging to 01 to 01. T comma tau in 01 to 01. If it was not clearly seen, right? So what we have is kernel is a bounded function. So this implies that there exists a real number k naught such that this condition holds for all t tau in 01 to 01, right? So what this implies is norm of tx infinity. This would be nothing but supremum of txt, right? Over t01, norm of tx, infinite norm is supremum norm, which is equals to supremum of t from 0 to 1 integration. Now txt क्या है? txt is integration 0 to 1 k t tau x tau d tau, right? So we write this as it is, and we have this. Is it clearly seen, or do I need to darken it a bit? So what we have is supremum of supremum over t, modulus of an integration sign. We can take the modulus inside, so this would be less than equals to supremum over t 0 to 1 integration modulus of kt tau and modulus of x tau d tau, right? Now this kt tau is less than equals to k naught for all t tau because k was bounded. So we have that this implies this is less than equals to kt tau का k naught आ जाएगा यहाँ पे, and then supremum over t integration 0 to 1 x tau d tau, right? Now this is nothing but norm of x infinity, right? So therefore what we have is t of norm of tx is less than equals to k naught times norm of x, right? And this k naught was a real number, so hence we get that t is a bounded function, t is bounded operator. Now the assignment is this part. You have to check if t from Rn to Rm be defined by tx is equals to ax is bounded linear operator. Okay, we have proved that this is linear operator. We have to show that this is bounded. If there is any problem, we can ask it in the Qt, right? So next is a few notes. Now we have proved that if it is a definition that if t is bounded, then norm of tx is less than equals to norm c into norm of x, right? We have defined it. Now if x is not equals to 0, because if x is equals to 0, then क्या होगा? Norm of t0, this is t0 is norm of 0, which is equals to 0. So this can be written as this is less than equals to 0 into norm of x, right? If x was 0. So this holds trivially for 0, x is equals to 0 part. So we take if x is not equals to 0, then we can divide tx by norm x. Since x is not 0, so norm of x would not be 0, and we can write this norm of tx upon norm of x is less than equals to c, right? So what is this condition on c? Is c any arbitrary number, or there is some special condition on c that we are defining now? So what this equality, this one inequality tells us that c should be at least as big as supremum, right, of this number norm of tx upon norm of x. So if t is at least supremum of this taken over dt minus 0, right? This inequality tells us that the c should be at least the supremum of tx over norm of x taken over dt minus 0, right? So hence we define norm of an operator t as norm of t is equals to supremum over x belongs to domain and x is not equals to 0, norm of tx upon norm of x, right? We define an operator, we define the norm of operator t as norm of t is equals to supremum x belongs to dt minus 0, norm of tx upon norm of x. right? Because if dt is equals to 0, then norm of t is equals to 0. Now, using this definition, we obtained that now since Tx was less than equals to c times norm of x, right? So, if we write c is equals to norm of t, what we would have is norm of Tx is less than equals to norm of t and norm of x, right? So norm of Tx is less than equals to norm of t into norm of x. This is the another definition that we will use to find the norm or to find the norm of Tx, right? So using this condition, we can define the definition of norm, second definition. This was the first definition. So the second definition of norm that we define is norm of t is equals to supremum x belonging to dt, norm of x is equals to 1, norm of tx. If in the previous definition, that was this, if we take norm x is equals to 1, then clearly x is not 0, right? So if we take norm x is equals to 1, then we would have norm of t is equals to supremum of norm of tx, right? Huh? I can't hear. Please repeat. हाँ जी, हाँ हाँ आ रही है. हाँ. अभी नहीं, हम अभी सिर्फ इसको ही इसी को प्रूव करेंगे कि ये एक पर्टिकुलर केस नहीं है, वो डेफिनेशन का ही अल्टरनेटिव वो है फॉर्मूला. We'll prove this now that this is not a particular case. Okay. The next part is actually the proof that if we are defining norm of t as such, then this is not a particular case, but actually the alternative formula. We are going to prove that. हाँ, norm of x चाहिए. ये बहुत useful formula होगा. Most of the time you will be using this formula only. Because norm of x is equals to 1, ये बहुत easily कई सारी situations में, बहुत सारे examples में हम ले सकते हैं या फिर given होगा हमें, right? या कुछ ऐसी sequence दी होगी जिसका norm 1 आ रहा होगा, sequence का या function का, right? तो अगर उसका norm 1 आ रहा है तो we can easily write this formula, right? क्योंकि हमें फिर इसको divide by norm x करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, वैसे भी सेम ही तो चीज है ना. इसी में norm x को 1 लिया है, हम यही तो प्रूव कर रहे हैं कि इसमें अगर हम norm x को 1 भी ले लेंगे तो भी डेफिनेशन सेम रहेगी. ये बिल्कुल जनरल केस है, उस केस में यूज होगा जब norm x को हम 1 कभी भी नहीं लिख सकते हैं, राइट? तो वही केस है कि अगर norm x को हम 1 नहीं भी लिख सकते तो हम इसको इस फॉर्म में ट्रांसफर कर पाएंगे कि वो उसका norm 1 हो जाए, right? But first see the proof, then I'll explain more, right? So what we are proving is that this formula, which I stated as 2, norm of t is equals to supremum norm of tx when norm of x is equals to 1, we are proving that this is actually an alternative formula, right? So to prove this, what we take is, let norm of x is equals to a and a is not equals to 0, right? So this is general, norm of x can be anything, right? And we take y is equals to x by a. Then norm of y would be 1, right? So what we did is, we transferred the function x with norm a to a function y with norm 1, right? So we are now what we will do is, we'll find norm of t with respect to x and with respect to y and see what happens, right? So what is norm of t? Using the original definition, norm of t is supremum x belongs to dt, x not equals to 0, norm of tx upon norm of x. This is the original definition, right? Now, norm of x is equals to a, we have assumed. So this transform to norm of Tx upon A, right? Now since T is linear, we can write this as Tx upon A है, इसको norm के अंदर भी ले जा सकते हैं. So this would be T of x by A, right? Norm of T of x by A. We can write this, right? From this, we can take A inside the norm because A is constant, right? So this would be A times T of 1 upon A times T of x, and T is linear. So we can take A inside also, scalar multiplication, right? So this will give norm of T times x by A, right? So supremum x belonging to dt, x is not equals to 0, and norm of T x by A. Now x by A is nothing but y, right? So what we have is, this is supremum x belonging to dt. From x we are converting it into now y. What would the form of y? So x by A is nothing but y. So this is nothing but T of y, right? Now on this limit of the supremum, we have y is belonging to dt, right? And now norm of y was 1, right? We have used the transformation y is equals to x by A. So therefore, instead of writing x is not equals to 0, because this is obviously not equals to 0, we have taken A is not equals to 0, right? So x is the form, यहाँ पे A is non-zero है, right? That means x is automatically not equals to 0. So if when we are transforming it from x to y, we have to take this limit also in terms of y. This, we can't take it in terms of x if we are defining whole terms in the terms of y, right? So what would be the norm of y if this previous equation holds? If this equation holds, what would the norm of y? This holds when y was x by A, right? And if y is equals to x by A, then we have shown the norm of y is equals to 1. That means this original definition, this can be transformed into this equation without any problem, without loss of generality, right? Because norm of x would be some constant number, we can define this transformation as y is equals to x by A, and using this transformation we can prove that this alternative definition is actually also the definition of the norm. We haven't done anything very extravagant that it loses its generality, right? If we are given norm of x is equals to A, we can assume any y in the domain such that y is equals to x by A, right? This is nothing in particular thing. We can take any y, we can define anything like that. So which implies norm of y would be 1. Then this definition of norm t transform in terms of y with norm of y is equals to 1. Is there any problem in this definition? Is it clear now? Okay. So next is, we are defining a new note. We'll prove it also. Now we have now in this case also, from this case we defined that this is the norm of operator t, right? Have we anywhere proved that this is actually a norm? It satisfies the definition of a norm, the 4 points of a norm. We haven't proved, right? We have actually stated that this is a norm, but how do we know that this is a norm? We have to prove that, right? Also the alternative formula, if we prove that either of this holds, either of this has the properties of norm, will be done, right? So the next point is, let T be a bounded linear operator, and we define norm defined by norm of T, which is equals to supremum x belongs to dt norm of Tx upon norm x. Then we have to prove that it satisfies all the properties of a norm. right? We can't take anything for granted. We have to prove this. Now, if we prove for this definition, it can automatically be proved for the alternative definition, right? So we are proving for the basic definition. Now, to prove norm, first was norm of Tx should be greater than 0. Norm of T should be greater than 0, right? We are proving norm of T, right? And we'll be using, sorry, we are proving for norm of T and we'll be using these norm of X and norm of Tx, right? Now, norm of Tx is always greater than equals to 0 and norm of X is also greater than equals to 0. This is already proved. Now, this implies this is a fraction A by B types, right? A is positive, B is positive. That means A by B is positive. So, which implies norm of T is positive. And norm of 0 would be norm of 0x upon norm of x, and norm of 0x is nothing but 0. So first property is verified, that norm of t is greater than equals to 0 and 0 only when t is equals to 0. This is the same property. Norm of t is equals to 0 implies tx is equals to 0. Can you clearly see it, or do I write it? This is written tx is equals to 0 for all x in dt, right? So this would imply Tx is equals to 0 for all x in dt. That implies, that is if and only if both sides x is equals to 0. This is if and only if case. What we had to assume was norm of t is equals to 0, right? So norm of t is equals to 0. This holds only and only if Tx is equals to 0 for all x, right? From the definition. Norm of t would be 0 only when this numerator is 0, right? Norm of tx is 0. Norm of tx is 0. That means norm of t that means tx is 0 for all x, and that means x is equals to 0. So we have proved the second case. Now is the scalar multiplication. For that, what we do is we take an alpha belonging to field K. K can be real or complex, right? This is any field, so alpha belongs to a field, and let x belonging to dt, right? So for scalar multiplication, what we have to show that norm of alpha t is equals to nothing but mod of alpha into norm of t, right? This is scalar multiplication. So we'll prove this now. Norm of alpha t would be supremum of modulus alpha tx upon x, right? सिर्फ t की जगह alpha t आएगा. Now, since t was a linear operator, we can, for that, firstly, what we'll use is, instead of this, we can use the alternative definition also, right? So this is nothing but supremum of x belonging to dt, norm of x is equals to 1, norm of alpha tx. Now see, अगर हम जनरल डेफिनेशन यूज करते तो हमें नॉर्म एक्स का भी नहीं पता, कुछ भी नहीं पता, लेकिन अगर ऑल्टरनेटिव डेफिनेशन यूज कर रहे हैं तो डिनोमिनेटर की टर्म पूरी हट गई है, राइट? नॉर्म एक्स इज इक्वल्स टू 1. This is very easy to solve क्योंकि supremum of x belonging to dt, norm of x is equals to 1. This norm can be written as, this is modulus of alpha into norm of tx, right? So therefore, this is equals to supremum of x belonging to dt mod of alpha into norm of tx. अल्फा को बाहर लेके जाएंगे तो अंदर क्या बचेगा? सुप्रीमम x belonging to dt norm of tx, right? So this is nothing but norm of t, ये वाली term, this term combined with this term, this is norm t, right? So what we have proved it, that norm of alpha t is nothing but modulus of alpha into norm of t. So scalar multiplication also holds, And last part, what we have to prove this, then this is additive, right? Norm is additive. So for that, triangular inequality in short. So for that, what we take is, we take an x belonging to dt, right, generally, and we take norm of t1 plus t2, right? So this would be nothing but supremum modulus of x is equals to 1 t1 plus t2 of x, which can be distributed as t1x plus t2x, right? Now, what we do is, we take triangular inequality over this norm. This is the defined norm, right? We have already proved that this is a defined norm, norm of Tx. So what we do is, we take triangular inequality on this. So what it will be is supremum of T1x plus supremum of over norm of T2x with less than equals to sign, right? And this is nothing but norm of T1. This is nothing but norm of T2. So what we have is norm of T1 plus T2 is less than equals to norm of T1 plus norm of T2. That is triangular inequality. See, you just saw in this and the previous proof that using the alternative definition with mod x is equals to 1 simplified the proof, right? So that is why this alternative definition was defined, because many of the times we can't really see what would be the norm of x, but we can use this definition when norm x is equals to 1, right? So next is the theorem, finite dimension theorem, that if a norm space x is finite dimensional, then every linear operator on x is bounded. Now the first thing to note is, uh, being bounded linear operator is not same as bounded function, right? Bounded function and bounded linear operator are very two different things. So but if the function was finite dimension, if we say that if space is finite dimensional, then every linear operator on x is bounded. Every linear operator on x is bounded. To prove that, what we use is finite dimensions of x. Now let dimension of x be n, which is finite, right? If dimension is finite, then we can define a basis e1, e2, en for x, right? And let t be any linear operator. We have to show for every linear operator now. So we take any arbitrary linear operator t from x to y, but we have to show that t is bounded. To prove this, what we'll use is, now x is any arbitrary element in x, right? So x can be written as this, x is equals to summation alpha I ei, because ei belongs to basis, right? So x can be written as linear combination of elements from basis. Any element from domain can be written as this, right? So we use this definition of x to compute tx. So norm of tx would be nothing but norm of t into x, x की जगह summation वाली term रख दी, summation alpha I ei, now which is equal, now since t was linear operator, so ये alpha i's जो है t के बाहर आ जाएंगी, summation alpha of t of ei हम लिख सकते हैं इसको, right? The reason being t is a linear operator, right? So now which can be written as this term, norm of summation mod of alpha I, जब summation को हम बाहर लेके जाएंगे, right? So triangular inequality use करेंगे norm की, so this would be nothing but this is less than equals to summation modulus of alpha into norm of TI, right? So this can be written as, this is for t of ei for I is equals to 1 to n. If we want to take it outside of the summation sign, we can take this as maximum of TEI, right? I is equals to 1 to n summation of alpha I, right? Now we'll see what this summation of alpha I is actually. You remember you have done a lemma in section 2.4, which was that if x1 to xn is a linearly independent set, then there exists a c greater than 0 such that we can write this as this. That is, norm of summation alpha I xi is greater than equals to c times norm of alpha I. This was lemma 2.4, right? So we will be using this lemma. Now, norm of summation alpha I, this would be less than equals to, यहाँ से norm of summation alpha I यहाँ से extract करेंगे, right? So this would be less than equals to 1 by c times summation alpha I xi types, right? Huh? E1, E2, En was basis, and we have taken an x belonging to x was arbitrary and x is non-zero, because x is equals to 0 के लिए ये condition trivial हो जाएगी, right? So x is not equals to 0. So हर एक x की एक non-zero representation होगी ना vector space में, because x was non-zero. So that means at least one alpha I be not zero. What were you saying? Please repeat. Hmm. Yeah. Oh, this is mod I. This is modulus. लास्ट से यहाँ पे derive करना रह गया था. So this can be written as 1 by c summation zeta I ei, where zeta is nothing but this some numbers x1, x2, xn जैसे यहाँ पे थे, where these are linearly independent. So यहाँ पे वही है ये. इसको zeta I की जगह तुम xi भी लिख सकते हो. There is no problem in that, right? So you write xi here. So this is summation xi ei, right? So this is equals to 1 by c norm of x, right? Wait a minute. Is less than equals to, yeah, it should be, wait, let me just be clear. Finite dimension, right? Yeah, it is alpha I. Yeah. So this is alpha I ei, right? Which is equals to 1 by c norm of x, alpha I in ei. Okay. So what we have now is this summation modulus of alpha I is less than equals to 1 by c times norm of x. We substitute this value in this previous inequality in this. Then we have norm of tx is less than equals to gamma times norm of x, where this gamma is nothing but maximum of ei into 1 by c, right? यही वाली terms बचेंगी. 1 by c maximum of tii, उसके अलावा norm of x आएगा, सिर्फ norm of x वाली term आ गई. So norm of tx is less than equals to gamma times norm of x, which implies t is bounded, right? Because we have gamma, which is a real number. Why? Because t was real and norm of TEI would be real, right? So therefore, in the field, so this implies T is a bounded. So what we have just proved it, if we have a norm space which is finite dimension is important. If it is infinite dimension, we can't say anything, right? If the space is finite dimensional, that every linear operator on X would be bounded. Huh? Every वेक्टर स्पेस नहीं हो सकता ना, ऑपरेटर मीन्स मैपिंग एंड मैपिंग इज नॉट वेक्टर स्पेस, राइट? What is an operator? Operator is a type of mapping. It is not a space. Operator is a type of mapping, not a set. हाँ, that is why I am saying ना ये confusing terms है. यहाँ पे हम जो bounded लिख रहे हैं, that is a bounded mapping types of thing. Function नहीं बोल सकते इसको हम. Mapping function होती है, function की एक अलग definition होती है. इसीलिए हमने इसको बोला कि अगर सेम चीज होती तो हम ऑपरेटर डिफाइन ही क्यों करते, राइट? वी हैड ऑलरेडी मैपिंग्स, वी हैड ऑलरेडी फंक्शंस. क्या हम कोई भी अच्छा चलो मान लिया कोई एक वेक्टर स्पेस है, राइट, फाइनाइट डायमेंशन का है, उसके ऊपर कोई भी मैपिंग हम डिफाइन करेंगे, क्या हम उसको बोल सकते हैं कि वो बाउंडेड मैपिंग होगी? नहीं बोल सकते ना. फाइनाइट डायमेंशन स्पेस के ऊपर जरूरी नहीं है हर एक मैपिंग बाउंडेड हो. दिस इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ऑपरेटर एंड मैपिंग. दैट इज वी आर सेइंग दैट दिस इज ऑपरेटर, not mapping. It functions like mapping, right? It functions like mapping. इसको हम बोल सकते हैं कि ये नॉर्म स्पेस के ऊपर मैपिंग है, बट हम इसको ये नहीं बोल सकते एग्जैक्टली कि ये मैपिंग है. ये नॉर्म स्पेस की मैपिंग है एंड नॉर्म स्पेस की मैपिंग बिहेव्स डिफरेंटली देन ओरिजिनल मैपिंग. तो इसके बाउंडेड होने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो बाउंडेड सेट होगा, नहीं. लीनियर ऑपरेटर इज बाउंडेड, इसमें कहने का मतलब ये है कि इफ वी आर टेकिंग अ नॉर्म स्पेस तो उसके ऊपर जो हम मैपिंग डिफाइन करेंगे वो मैपिंग फर्स्ट थिंग ऑपरेटर होगी, देन उसको लीनियर होना चाहिए, then that mapping would be bounded. We are not saying that the space would be bounded or this operator is a set. No, it defines a, it behaves like mapping, so it can't be a set. It has range and it has domain, right? So now the next term is continuity n of an operator. Do we have enough time to? Okay, so what we'll do is we define continuity now and prove the theorem in next class. Okay, what was the continuity of a function in real analysis? Right, with how we define that a function is continuous at a point. The definition was same, right? If for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists a delta greater than 0 such that norm of tx, उसमें क्या था, f of x minus x naught is less than epsilon for all x minus x less than delta. यही definition थी, right? So यहाँ पे difference क्या है? If we define t is a continuous operator, the first thing is x and y are norm spaces over field K. An operator. Important point is operator. It is not a map. General map. हम general map पे ये नहीं लिख सकते. If these are norm spaces, then only we can write. If and we are not taking here linear operator, right? We are not taking linear operator here. So an operator T is continuous at a point. First thing is continuous at a point we are defining. This point belongs to domain. If there are two definitions, this is the first definition and this is the second definition. If for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists a delta greater than 0 such that definition is same, norm of tx minus tx naught is less than epsilon for all x in domain such that norm of x minus x naught is less than delta, right? This is the same definition as in functions. So this t is a function type of, but it is on norm spaces. It has its different properties. That is why we are not saying it is a function. We are naming it as an operator, right? So we can differentiate between what is a function and what is an operator. The second thing is, the second definition is, if there is exists a sequence xn, the sequential criteria for continuity was if there exists a sequence xn in domain such that xn converges to xn in D, which then this implies T of xn should converge to T of x naught in Y, right? This is a sequential criteria definition, and that was epsilon delta definition. Both are true, right? But this is the definition, that is the actual definition. What we'll do is we'll prove that this sequential criteria holds, right? We do not know if this hold or not. We will prove that the second definition is also equivalent to first definition, right? So the main definition of continuity, if we ask, is that if T is an operator, then it is continuous at a point if for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists a delta greater than 0 such that this norm condition holds, right? Will not write the sequential criteria in the definition of a continuity. You can write it as a note or something, right? But yeah, the definition is the first one, the main definition. Second one is a kind of note, but it is a definition we will be proving later on. If asked in exam what is a continuous operator, then the definition is definition number first, right? This is just a criteria to see. Now note is T is continuous if T is continuous at every point. I don't know if you can see it or not. But yeah, how do we say that T is a continuous operator? T will be continuous operator if it is continuous at every point of the domain, right? हमने एक point के लिए continuity की definition लिखी है. If this condition, first condition holds for every point of the domain, then T would be a continuous operator, right? In the next section, the main difference between function and operator is in this theorem. Just see what the theorem states. The theorem states that if T is an operator from dt to y, be a linear operator we are given, right? Where dt is contained in x and y are the norm spaces, then continuity implies boundedness and boundedness implies continuity. We can't say that in functions, right? Functions में हम ये generally नहीं कह सकते थे that if a function is continuous, that is bounded, and if it is bounded, it is continuous. We can't say that, right? But it holds for operators. T is continuous if and only if it is bounded. And second thing is, if T is continuous at single point, then it is continuous. ये भी फंक्शन से बिल्कुल अलग है. फंक्शन में क्या होता था, इफ इट इज कंटिन्यूअस दैट तो हर एक पॉइंट पे, सिंगल पॉइंट पे भी कंटिन्यूअस होगा. बट फॉर ऑपरेटर्स व्हाट वी आर सेइंग दैट if it is continuous even at a single point, then it would be continuous on whole of the domain. In this way, operators and functions are completely different, right? So for operators, linear operators, what we have is continuity if and only if boundedness, and point-wise continuous implies continuous, and converse तो होता ही है. So therefore point-wise continuous if and only if continuous. We'll prove this theorem in the next class. It's quite a lengthy one, right? So we'll prove this in the next class. For now, is there any doubt in the lecture? You can ask. Is there any doubt in any of the theorem or definition? हाँ जी पूछें. Every Banach space has a Schroeder basis. I think if it is finite dimensional, then we can say clearly that it has. तो उसके पास हाँ होगा ही. Every Banach space, I think it might not hold. There might be some contradiction. Mm, okay, let me just write it down. Your first doubt is कि Banach space has, ठीक है. Any other doubt except for this? I'll try to prove or see if there's holes or not. Then tomorrow I'll tell you where will be the contradiction or something. Right. Any other doubt? Okay, so I think not. So for this section, your assignment is you have to prove that, huh? Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Complete if and only proves. Yeah. Norm space होना चाहिए. Norm space होना चाहिए. Any other doubt? So you try to do this question, this is assignment, that this matrix operator Tx is equals to Ax is bounded. If there is any doubt, we can discuss in the tute. Uh, can I take the tute on Saturday? Because I think